The Obama administration announced that we're sending special ops troops into Syria. According to CNN sources, quote, the United States military will deploy a small number of special forces groups to consult with and provide assistance to Syrian rebel forces on the ground. American troops will help local Kurdish and Arab forces fighting ISIS with logistics and are planning to bolster their efforts. Top secret missions conducted by U.S. Special Ops have already occurred on the ground, but a larger presence like the one suggested has yet to happen since the Syrian conflict began. All right, so there it is. We now officially are going to have boots on the ground in Syria, which, of course, naturally leads to this. You remember when Obama said this?
Won't this put us on a slippery slope to another war? One man wrote to me that we are still recovering from our involvement in Iraq. A veteran put it more bluntly. This nation is sick and tired of war. My answer is simple. I will not put American boots on the ground in Syria.
Whoops. Yes, you will. You just did. So this really gets under my skin. Now, what you just saw was from a year and a half ago or so. And in that speech, he was making the case to do bombing to get rid of Assad. Now, since then, we've flipped in the fight. And I love how nobody in the mainstream media is talking about this, even though it's the elephant in the room. A year and a half ago, we were so immensely anti-Assad that we were outwardly praising the rebels and saying, oh, these guys are right and Assad is wrong, he's a brutal dictator, he's gassing his own people, he's using chemical weapons, all these problems. Then a year and a half goes by, and silently we go, yeah, it appears like the biggest problem in the region is actually ISIS, and ISIS are the rebels, along with al-Nusra, which is the al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria. We switch sides. So, yeah, we're against the rebels now. Which means whether or not you acknowledge it, you are on the side of Assad. Now, when very few people, because most people didn't even know about this, but when very few people called them out on that, I was like, hey, that's a little weird. Look at you switch sides. Like, oh, no, what we really did was we're fighting both sides. And that turns out to be true. So we've been doing airstrikes and whatnot against ISIS, but also, as they announced maybe a month ago now, they're like, yeah, and if we happen to see Syrian government forces loyal to Assad, we might bomb them too. Whatevs, bro. That's how we do this. So, look at the giant quagmire we're in the middle of. And Obama decides, yeah, let's send special ops in there. Why? You don't like either side in the fighting. Why would you get involved? It's like if I presented you with a feces sandwich and a bucket of grandpa's piss. And I said, pick. The right answer is no. I want nothing to do with any of it. But Obama's like, grandpa's piss. Gotta go for it. No, man, you're not gonna solve anything. That's the point. All of us are against ISIS. The question is, how do we most effectively combat them? And is it our role to combat them? And who should combat them? And how should they combat him? And they're not a direct threat against the United States of America right now. So it's not defensive on our part to go in there. But he wants to go in there anyway. No, we're tired of war. We're sick of war. Enough with this nonsense already. And to dig deeper into this quagmire here, as I was tweeting about the other day, guys, we're so confused that it depends on where you're talking about in the Middle East. Wherever there's an imaginary border, you cross over it and we flip sides in the fight. So, for example, in Iraq, we are outwardly backing the Shia militias who are fighting ISIS. And those Shia militias are also aligned with Iran and Assad. So we're backing the Shia militias in Iraq. But then when you go to Syria, right over the border, we flip. And we're fighting the Shia militias and backing so-called moderate Sunnis, who also happen to be aligned with ISIS. What the fuck are we doing? It doesn't make any sense! But it's gotten so bad and it's so crazy now that, as we discussed the other day, and the Daily Beast reported on among many other outlets, General Petraeus floated the idea of maybe we should back quote, moderate Al-Qaeda fighters. Why don't we arm moderate Al-Qaeda people? Or not? Or not. The fact that, we care so much about the geopolitical situation, and we don't care about the reality on the ground. The fact that that's led us to this shows you we got to start from scratch with our foreign policy. Because when you're that far up your own ass, making rationalizations and justifications to do something as crazy as arming Al-Qaeda again, like we did in the 80s with Reagan, well, you're the problem then. You're making the problem worse, and all of the evidence shows that. Stay out of there. It's a quagmire. It's a civil war. It's got nothing to fucking do with us. I got no problem with you're rooting for a certain side on the outside, or even giving humanitarian aid to some people who we trust, like the Kurds, for example. But anything beyond that, and you're just getting too much involved, and I don't want my tax dollars funding it, and the overwhelming majority of the American people are with me on this, so how about we try that?